Welcome to tonight's meeting. Thank you for attending. My name is Ecology, and I am the chair of the Ecology Policy and Accountability Committee. Before we begin, there are some housekeeping things I want to cover. This meeting is being live streamed on YouTube. I take part in consenting to be recorded. Please, can officers introduce themselves before speaking for the first time, and would everybody please use their microphones? There are tea, coffee and biscuits available in the kitchen to the right, which everybody is welcome to help themselves. And that's over that way. The toilets are on my left hand side. You need a security badge to get into the kitchen and other office areas, so you might have to ask an officer, sorry, if you need to use the bathroom. It's locked. If the fire alarm sounds either continuously or intermittently, I will adjourn the meeting. Please leave the meeting in an orderly fashion by the staff fire exit, which is behind me to my right. Officers will direct you to the assembly point in Riverside Gardens. Let's see to the agenda. Apologies, Francis. We've got a couple of people running late, a couple of councillors running late, so we'll take that as late for now.
Yes, Chair, I will call out the points to ladies from Council Melbourne and Council Chair.
Do we have any declarations of interest? Okay, none. Reported. Minutes. Do members agree the minutes of the meeting held on the 23rd of April? Yeah. Yes, agreed. Fantastic. It's been a while since the last meeting. Sorry about that. I think there was a big election got in the way, but it's lovely to see so many people here tonight. But we've got a fantastic presentation, circular economy and sustainable procurement. We can carry on. Introduce yourselves and thank you.
Thank you very much. Ron Freeze from the Sustainability and Sector. Good evening, and my name is Sarah Jane Willowson, and I work for the Western Riverside Waste. I'm an advisor and I will authority support you at London.
Fantastic. Presentations to be provided. Have you got in order? Do you know who's going first? And could you hear Annie? Just checking. You might want to pull your mic when you do speak. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to say that one second for me and sustainable this evening. We're already delivering the sector for me in Fulham. The content of this meeting will outline what we need to do to move beyond individual projects to embed sector economy throughout the processes. Thank you. Throughout, we want to embed circular economy throughout the council's processes and across the community. And so this presentation will talk through some of the things that we've already done and some initiatives that we so the building of new homes under a business as usual scenario, coupled with retrofit improvements, would mean that the housing system uses up 104% of the country's carbon budget by 2050. The circular economy can play a key role in reducing our embodied carbon emissions, which make up to 20% UK's environmental emissions. This is currently unregulated and it's being reduced at a much slower rate compared to operational carbon. More carbon achievements of this needs later on. And the government plans to build 1.5 million new homes over the next 4 years, and so hopefully that gives some context as to scale and some of the work to reduce embodied carbon emissions. So what's on the agenda today? We're going to talk about the context of circular economy within the climate emergency. We'll look at the approach and focus areas to units. We'll look at what we're committed to deliver and our role and what role we play, and then finally opportunities for us to lead. So just touching on what the circular economy is. Circular economy is a production and consumption model that keeps products and materials in use for as long as possible. If we do this, we can save materials and we can also save money. A circular economy is just one pillar in climate change action, but something that we embed in everything we do. We can think of circular economy like we do carbon emissions, broken down into scopes 1, 2, and 3, for direct and indirect control. Direct control we have is what our organisation does, so we can deliver circular economy through procurement and policy mechanisms. And our indirect control is far and beyond, which is like disposals. We need to work with our communities and key community stakeholders in order to make some of the most difficult changes, but those changes that will have the biggest impact.
Sorry, just 1 second. Can we put that TV closer to the, because I'm really struggling to see. Can you wheel towards that way? Thanks. Thanks, Councillor. I'm so sorry, thank you. So a little bit less. Right, sorry, you're please.
Yeah, so in this thing is we are going to deliver a circular economy 6 key principles will be referred to as our 6 R's of circular economy. At the very top, we want to rethink, and we'll do this through behaviour change and process change. Second is reduce, so we want to decrease consumption and procurement. Third, increasing maintenance and promoting green skills. Fourth is reuse, and that's reused by us. So we want to retain the use of things for multiple purposes, but also promote borrowing and find new uses for things that we can bring home. Fourth is redistribution and sharing, so that's the reuse of something by something else, and by maximising the value of materials elsewhere and disincentivising ownership. And then, of course, finally, recycling, which I think we're familiar with, but we can start moving upwards to higher we can think about reusing things rather than throwing them away. And so, how are we going to do this? And where should we focus? So, we've broken the circular economy down into 3 key approaches. First, we've got consumer goods, which is producing, reusing, and recycling things. But this should be the norm in the future, and we're already seeing industry leading the way in this without legislation in place, with upcoming legislation. The innovation is moving at a very fast pace, and so this is an area that's constantly evolving. One of the most biggest areas of impact is the built environment, and this is where we need to be focusing, particularly when we think about building homes and materials used for those homes. And this is where we can see the biggest results. The structure of the building accounts for around 50% of embodied carbon of the entire building, and there are the emissions from the production of materials and transportation all the way through to the end of its cycle and disposal of them. Not just thinking about how the building is operated and the energy, but all of the materials that are used to create that building. Concrete and the use of concrete can increase embodied carbon by up to 30%. So it's really important that we explore low carbon alternative materials from the building homes so that we can keep that embodied carbon as low as possible. But not as much focus as we do today. There are complex challenges and so this is a real key area for us. And then finally, we need to enable these changes through processes such as policies and procurement mechanisms that will help us to make change happen across the organisation and across the community. And so now we're looking at our progress to date. So for built environments, we have looked at the embodied carbon. So a significant challenge is reducing embodied carbon, and this is all of the emissions before and after building one product is in use, as mentioned. Materials are the largest source of embodied carbon, particularly structural materials such as concrete and steel. And the built environment sector is the largest user of these materials. So it's a real focus area for us. We want to reduce embodied carbon. We are also lacking freshly carbon, doing a good job of reducing our operational carbon. We're meeting up to 70% reduction rates to date, but less focus has been given on embodied carbon, which makes up around 20% of UK built environment emissions, and this is from construction and refurbishment. Sometimes these materials can cost more, but ways, and so we need to understand how we can deliver our programmes as well as looking at low carbon materials. But we are already doing some of this work. We're working collaboratively across London to set KPIs and discuss solutions to be rolled out. So we work with other local authorities, work with some of our key partners who are able to join us today. We also work with organisations like GLAs to try and understand how we can standardise approaches across the city. So it seems daunting, but we are moving in the right direction, delivering. And we're also exploring opportunities to reduce embodied carbon across our local environment in collaboration with our own teams, as well as working externally. We're doing this by understanding the process, the operational delivery, and then identifying opportunities across the work collaboratively. We've been working on some of our development projects, and we've been working really closely with our own teams as well to what's happening in terms of local materials. The second is consumer goods. So consumer goods are things that we buy and use. We are part of the commodity programme, which is one of 700 councils and climate programme that are running across London to address key issues facing boroughs. The 100 programme aims to reduce consumption-based emissions of food, plastics, textiles, and electricals. Hammersmith is a leading borough in the central community. As a theme lead, we are responsible for delivering an action plan to reduce consumption-based emissions of electricals across London. Our work includes leading research with London universities, supporting grant applications and funding opportunities, and delivering innovative solutions. And then finally, more concerning process. So we have already delivered lots of process changes that will help us enable these circular economy principles. Our climate change sustainable planning document is designed to provide guidance on good practice for householders and large developers when building or renovating homes and commercial premises in the borough. It also aims to promote the production and reuse as well as recycling, which is our key circular economy principles. We also support our suppliers to commit to low carbon principles, but with a common framework monitoring supply chain commitments to decarbonisation. The toolkit, which is part of this, is used by account managers and commissioning officers to include climate considerations in tenders. We also have our climate implications toolkit for our decisions. This requires key decisions and operating strategies in H&M, which helps again our commission officers and over the months with So now we're moving on to opportunities for us to be a leader in resource efficiency. Our climate and ecology strategy sets out our key objectives that indicate what we need to do to meet our net zero targets, but the actions aren't always measurable. And so what we want to do is set out a transition plan, which is chapter 2 of the part of our strategy, which will hopefully show you on both some of these actions. A circular economy transition plan means collecting data to measure where we are now, which is step 1. You can see the screen here quickly. And the baseline where we need to be is industry targets, set actions, step 3, and monitor our progress to understand how we need to follow, which is step 4. The three key areas of focus, which is step 2 here, have been chosen because we have more direct control or that there are key and high carbon areas based on our stakeholder engagement we carry out. And so we'll apply our 6 R's that we mentioned earlier in circular economy to achieve these. And this includes policy changes, job and skills, and behaviour changes, which are parts of the process around these requirements. Another initiative is working with our pilots team with a carbon management approach. So we worked with a highway engineer using 2 years of integrated data to baseline, benchmark, and set measurable actions to reduce the carbon footprint of our highways. The materials that we focused on are concrete and asphalt, which are the most used in place carbon materials across our maintenance work. The delivery plan sets up short, medium, and long-term actions to reduce carbon from these materials, which further works towards red action, which are more difficult, but will have the biggest carbon reduction impacts. I'm hoping to work with our teams to understand how it's possible and can't do all of this at once, so I'm hoping to test the area and plan along with our programmes. Third, we are exploring reuse platforms and reuse hubs. And so H&F, along with other boroughs, are exploring how to increase the reuse of waste construction materials and components through access to secondary materials markets via digital platforms. As you can see here on the screen, there are two available that some of the authorities are exploring, and there are opportunities to try these to understand how we can sell and use secondary materials in some of our developments. These are predominantly for housing development, capital works, local teams, to take materials from this and using new build sites or in our existing assets or undergoing retrofits or deconstruction work. But in order to use these platforms effectively, we will need to identify storage space with critical access and transportation of materials from one site to the other, which is difficult in a city like London, as we all know, it's a limited space. We also need to encourage our suppliers to engage with us. Moving on to another initiative is the repair voucher scheme. So working with the community and bringing the residents along with us, we want to introduce a repair voucher scheme into the borough. So what is the repair voucher scheme? It's financial incentive consumers to repair overbuying new. We want to use this as a demonstrative project based on research we've carried out to understand how this could work at scale. The idea is that residents would receive a 50% off voucher, and they would treat it to a network of businesses which support green skills and helps regulate the economy, and the council would help subsidise and repair that voucher. So it's not only really reducing competitions, it's living process, and again, so lots of benefits and speakers. We're hoping to work with other councils and then with one of the programs as well to understand how it scales. And finally, just a couple of policies that which want to implement. So one is a update to our low carbon procurement policy. We currently have a policy in place. The Procurement Act is coming in. There are lots of changes and ways of improve monitoring and reporting, and working closely with our suppliers to bring them along our climate journey with us. Second is advertising and sponsorship policy. So we currently have no policy the advertising of products and services, with the exception of the legal requirements. What we want this policy to do is commit advertising and sponsorship of fossil derived products and services, such as diesel vehicles, unhealthy foods, and e-cigarettes and those. Public health team is working closely with us, and as part of their food plan, we're hoping to deliver an organisation-wide ethical advertising policy to support some of our public health commitments, as well as our climate change. And then finally, we're refreshing our food policy, as we have already committed to removing plastics from the borough. But in partnership with the Fulham Living Programme, we want to align with London boroughs across the city and be more ambitious in our approach and align with some of the standards, metrics, so hopefully these projects and initiatives that we've just spoken about will help us to embed the 6 lines of sector across the organisation and not only the organisation. Then please move on to passing it over to my colleagues who join us today as guest speakers to speak about some of the work we're doing plans.
Thank you for that, Laura. I think the word has been a fantastic introduction. I've said that all of the initiatives that when it comes to living. I'm here to talk about what Western Riverside Waste Authority is doing. Those of you that don't know what Western Riverside is, it's the statutory body or local authority responsible for the management of the waste delivered to it by Hammersmith and Fulham, as well as Kensington, Chelsea, Lambeth, and Lawrence. So I've just got a couple of slides to let you know what we're doing. First of all, we have a big focus on waste prevention and education activities. As Laura highlighted, actually behavioural change is really key components of the circular economy. At Western Riverside Science Smugglers Way, we have a dedicated education facility. And the team there take around have lots of sports education visits as well as residential education visits. Residents can come along to the site, see what happens to their recycling, learn tips about how to prevent waste, to encourage reuse, etc. And really we're trying to embed that circular economy mentality from an early age. Also, on site at the Smugglers Way facility, next to the household waste and recycling centre, is the Rework facility, which is a fantastic charity that we work with that focuses on reuse. So Rework takes items that have been left at the household waste recycling centre that are suitable for reuse, repair, refurbishment. And they have an on-site facility where staff that are employed as apprentices in electrical engineering, repair, maintenance, etc., help to repair those generally white goods. So the fridges and freezers and cookers, they get them back working again, cleaning them, testing them, and then they're able to provide them to other charities or councils. So continuing their life and reuse. We will also work with a number of other charities to take items such as bicycles from the site as well, and some other small goods as well for resale and use. One of the main purposes of the site is actually to sort the materials for recycling. So all of the recyclables that's collected in Hammersmith and Fulham are taken to the site where they are separated for onward transfer and reprocessing. So we at the site we sort of commingle, so mixed recycling as well as separated recyclables at 2 waste transfer stations. Any black sack rubbish delivered to the site is then transported by river to be converted into energy at Belvedere Energy Waste Facility. So transport down the river is also a circular approach. Uses less fuel for transportation, but also has those fantastic co-benefits of reducing air pollution, improving health and well-being. Through this process as well, any residual ash from the process is recycled into construction materials as well. So another recycling theme there. And then just finally, what's next? Circular economy is a systemic approach. And through the development of our joint resources and waste management strategy, we've been looking to work with our partners to implement a range of circular activities. And this is going to be delivered through 4 different action plans, one of which specifically focuses on transition to a more circular economy. As part of this action plan, specific actions are including increasing reuse, specifically from our household waste recycling centre, supporting skills and social value for reuse and repair, continuing with fantastic education around waste prevention, recycling and reuse, and also exploring further options to develop a reuse hub. And also, like fantastic officers at Hammersmith and Fulham, Western Riverside officers also support wider government interest in circular economy and get involved in different fora to share knowledge and also learn about best practices.
I am Casey, as I said at the beginning, I'm an advisor in the local authority support team at London, and I'm here just to talk about our work with circular neighbourhoods in London and what that means. Quickly, in case you're not aware of who London are, we are a partnership between the Mayor of London and the 32 London boroughs. So we work pan London on various waste recycling circular economy initiatives. We do that through 3 pillars. So we have a business transformation team who support SMEs across London, either circular SMEs who are looking to scale or grow, or linear businesses who are looking to adopt new circular business models. We have our behaviour change and communication team who lead all our citizen facing campaigns, so the likes of Repair Week and London Recycles, which hopefully people have heard of. And then the local authority team, which is where I sit, and we, as I said, we support all London boroughs. So I'm here to quickly talk about our work on circular neighbourhoods. So a circular neighbourhood is one where its citizens have greater access to circular solutions and products. And by doing so, we essentially change the choice architecture within that area or within that neighbourhood. So this spawned from some research that the GLA conducted, which found that there are 600 high streets across London, and 90% of London citizens live within a 10-minute walking distance of one of those high streets, so making pockets of neighbourhoods all across the city. And through providing more affordable and greater access to circular solutions and products for citizens, we hope to nudge consumer behaviour, which Laura was mentioning earlier. So we delivered a demonstrator project. This was the first of its kind for us in partnership with the London Borough Council. It was a 2-year project. And we essentially wanted to deliver those circular solutions and products to the neighbourhood of Heston, which is very close to Heathrow Airport, underneath this flight path, whilst also bring the benefits of greater community cohesion and helping boost the local economy. As mentioned, we worked in an area called Heston, population of around 25,000, high proportion of Southeast Asian population, quite high levels of deprivation, and also digital exclusion as well. So some challenges to overcome with the delivery of this project. And over the course of a 1-year delivery period, we delivered 20 different interventions within this one neighbourhood and worked with 20 different delivery partners. So we had a whole range of activity being delivered in the area that was looking at, it was really broad in scope, so we were looking at plastics, textiles and clothing, food and electricals, and then also other, which would include maybe furniture or bicycles. We set up a monthly repair cafe, and this was a free space for citizens to come and be taught how to repair their items. So they were upskilled, but also save money through not having to buy a brand new item. We worked with a great organisation called People's Profit, who supported school children to set up a refill shop in their schools. We worked with 5 schools in that for parents and guardians and staff to get household products through that refill shop and avoid single-use plastic. We also worked with the likes of Olio and Ferris and Too Good To Go for sharing platforms to share free items amongst the community, and also get cheaper food and support businesses to redistribute surplus food. So a whole suite of interventions were delivered. I won't go into all of them because that takes about 40 minutes, but hopefully it's just giving you a nice little flavour of what was delivered. And then alongside that, we also set up a brand for the project. So that was the In the Loop brand, which can be tailored and localized to your neighborhood. And so we had social media channels set up, we utilized the council webpage, and then we had more traditional out of home communications use as well. So bringing banners, bus stops, etc. And those were deployed throughout the live period of the project as well. And we also, a really nice touch of this is we use the local community. So we got a professional photographer in at the start of the project, and we did photo shoots of that boy in the top left is actually one of the pupils from one of the primary schools who were involved in the project. And then we also hired throughout the project 3 part-time advisors who were project ambassadors and physical presence for the community, and they shouted about and promoted all the activity that we were delivering to help gauge engagement and interest and drive people to the events, show them how to use the various platforms available to them. And we also had an amazing bank of over 40 volunteers who helped us as well. And these are just some photos of the activity in action. So hopefully give you a flavour of what was delivered. So we've got the refill shop on the top left at one of the primary schools, and some community growing sessions on the right. The bottom two are from the repair cafe that was set up, and some amazing volunteers who are helping teach residents how to repair items. And then quickly, just wanted to demonstrate the really valuable social impact that this project had, not only for the borough itself, but also the delivery partners who were involved, through the promotion that Green London and the council provided. They were able to get great promotion and PR through the project, and expanded across London. Citizens that came to the events were really positive about the activity. One of my favourite quotes is from a lady who came to one of the sewing courses, who obviously there was the environmental impact of the upcycling of textiles, but she was saying that going to the course really helped increase her confidence and self-esteem, helped improve her English, which wasn't her first language, and felt more active in the community. So that was really heartwarming to see. And then some of the results from the project and the impact the project had. So we had over 2,500 attendees across the events that we put on across the year. We had over 3,000 items shared through the various platforms, and over 3,000 meals shared through Too Good To Go. The items shared through the sharing platforms as well had the equivalent value of over £10,000. And then through the various activities, the 20 activities we put on, we helped divert the figure that is slightly out of date, but between 7,000 and 20,000 kilograms of carbon through the repairing, sharing, upcycling of materials rather than disposing or even recycling. So we were really, really pleased with that. And then we got amazing engagement through the communications as well. So the platform advice, as I mentioned, had over 3,000 conversations in the neighbourhood with either citizens or local businesses. And we reached, or adverts that we put on through social media channels were seen 1.8 million times, which was really fantastic to see. And we've also, we knew there was going to be a challenge trying to engage local businesses, but we had over 20 in the area signed up and involved, whether that was signing up to Too Good To Go. Sounds were signing up to an initiative called Green Sound Collective, where they supported to be more energy and water efficient. They had hard to recycle material streams set up, so kind of used foil and hair was collected and recycled. And then we've had 11 businesses signed up to offer refills as well to systems. And then to help with the monitoring and evaluation of the project, we conducted a citizen survey to understand both pre and post project their awareness, attitude, barriers to circular behaviours. So at the end of the project, we conducted the survey again. We were really pleased to see the level of awareness of the activity we delivered. 79% of those spoken to were aware of at least one of the project interventions. I won't go through all of these stats, but just cherry picking a few. Another great one is that the barriers cited to implementing circular behaviours, the lack of knowledge of how to repair something went from 55% and dropped to 14% post project. So really great effort to show that citizens were engaging with the repair facilities that were provided. And what's coming next? So that was, as I said, our demonstrator project that we're really excited about. But it was really broad in scopes. What we are doing now is moving on to our next circular community project. This one we are looking specifically at food, with the aim to develop a replicable model for a circular food community in London, with the two main objectives of increasing the consumption of lower carbon food, so getting people to shift more from meat and dairy and more to plant-based, and then to reduce overall food waste as well. And so that will be launching in the new year, and really excited about that. So to wrap up, oh no, sorry, I'm giving some details about what we're delivering. So as part of that project, kind of the centerpiece of that is a community cafe that we're launching in a community centre, and that will be hiring a part-time community chef and community coordinator, and that'll be utilising surplus food and upskilling citizens on how to use food up, but also create yummy plant-based food. And we're also going to have other cooking workshops. We're going to be working with local businesses around how they can reduce their food waste and promote plant-based eating. We're going to be working with local schools, and then we're going to have a round comms campaign as well, with lots of little tips and nudges for citizens to use as well, like recipe cards and user first fridge stickers. As I said, that'll be launching in the new year. And then following the similar loop project that I ran through in the new year as well, we're going to be publishing the full case study for that, as well as a communication toolkit for the In the Loop brand, which would be the guidelines and all the editable assets for all London boroughs to use for free as well. So a resource that can be used hopefully across London in lots of different neighbourhoods. Thank you.
Thank you. That's fantastic. I think there's an awful lot to absorb there and take on board. Thank you for the presentation. It was really good. And I think what it shows is that Hammersmith and Fulham are doing a lot by themselves, but also engaging with partners, whether it's the Mayor's office across London, and with the, the Waste Authority. I've got a couple of questions. My question about the Heston project. Do you know how it affected behavioural change going forward? Are you going to revisit those people to see whether actually a supportive year meant there was lots of change, but they fell back into their old habits? Because of course you can't support every community all the time. So is there evidence that people took that on board and didn't go back?
Excellent question. What we're really pleased with within this project is obviously we don't want to kind of drop into an area to deliver some activity and then leave and everything come to a stop. And we wanted activity to be kind of self-sustained. So really pleased. I think it was around 65% of the interventions that we delivered are continuing or have continued post the end of the formal close of the project, which was back in March. So the repair cafe is continuing on a monthly basis, and they've been successful in becoming a community interest group, so they can now apply for funding as well to keep that going. And they're getting continued support from the council for that. The primary schools are still delivering their refill shops from the schools, so the model for that is supposed to be sustainable in the sense that the profit made at the shop was then funding they can use to buy more stock to sell, so that should then continue. The council have then continued electrical repair workshops for the community, for schools as well, and then luckily a lot of the partners that we worked with where it's not as visible, it's more kind of behind the scenes. If it's on an Apple platform, for instance, we have relationships with those, so we can go back to them in 6 months, a year, and see what the level of activity is continue to be.
Fantastic, thank you. Thank you for that. I've got a couple of other questions, but I'm going to actually go across to my fellow councillors and see if you've got any.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. That's really good. It's so encouraging to see collaboration and circular economy and so much of that. I know you've had some background to it, but no, thank you very much. I know I'm from the building construction background, so I often hark back to this, but it's great you've got this reuse
building materials going now? Is that something that's increased since over the last, couple of years? How much is that being picked up now? What's like the increase on it, and how do we see it moving forward? Because I know space is premium to store goods and stuff, so yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's still very much a new concept, and it's not something that is completely varied, but definitely something we're looking at quite level. But as you touched on, one of the biggest challenges we have is space and the storage of these materials. Like we can start looking at reuse of fixtures and finishing, which I think is quite common, we do this in our homes, buildings already. When we start looking at reuse of larger materials and it's quite space and storage. And also another challenge is identifying where these materials are and having them ready in the way that the timelines come around. As I'm sure you're aware, they can be really quite tight deadlines to turn around to. And so what we're doing is exploring the use of digital marketplaces instead of operating within local communities and only have a few opportunities to identify opportunities. Timber or steel, we can communicate with stakeholders across the city or routes in case it's larger than it's travel, and get those materials identified and transported to site much earlier, which makes us bigger than those opportunity. But as I mentioned, it's still very much at a time that hoping to work with other
Is that something you could get the message out to builders themselves? Because I know Hammersmith and Fulham have this whole link with local builders to donate. I wonder if some sort of app can be used for the builders to communicate with each other. They can be linked but separate at the same time, because then you would mitigate some storage issues. So it's like, okay, I'm demolishing this place down, let's all the bricks go, for instance. And then someone only half a mile away will say, right, I'm on my way, and then the storage issue is not, reduced. And carbon.
Yeah, absolutely. So the platform not only grants access to council offices, and also our suppliers and local businesses as well. So you have a little mix of stakeholders in construction and the environment sector that will be able to communicate with each other to understand what's the market we use and what's you said as well. So hopefully we bring this as many partners into the conversation, and again, make that.
And that message should go out to all people in the industry, architects.
Yeah, there was a launch just yesterday afternoon to launch event for this platform, and like you said, architects, surveyors, structural engineers, all of them trying to understand how they can get involved as well. So it's really growing over. That's
Can I cut in on that
Yeah.
and ask, are there any levers that we can use to measure how much is being recycled, and levers to encourage fines? What is the monitoring process for buildings if they're not under our control? Do we have any compulsory element?
I think what we want to be able to do is use something like we can create materials passport from that, so we can have a good understanding of what assets and materials we already own, and whether there's any value in reusing them, and then we can understand what is being used, and then we will have it in the future. So yeah, there's a real data gap, but we're doing that by also seeing that we better understand what's already in the sites and we're going to. So yeah, there are quite easy ones of monitoring what is being reused, and put that data.
Can I just say also thank you for your the WRWA presentation too. That was brilliant. Again, reusing the white bits that you're working on. How's that? Then you've got a network of suppliers and clients that you go to. How does that word get out that you've got these goods to offer?
So that's through the charity we work that we're working with. So we work have a fantastic network of other charities that supply residents with these goods, local authorities as well. So they're really responsible for getting that balance. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I'm going back to that again. My question is about whether the amount of recycling can become more compulsory rather than voluntary. I think particularly in large businesses, there seems to be that they can use a private recycler, that they can, and then how do we measure and monitor if they're not coming to you, which is our preferred partner? Does that make sense?
So actually next year for businesses, there are some new regulations coming in called simpler recycling regulations, which will compel businesses to recycle more and also to collect food waste, even though it reduces food waste. So we work with our partners, such as Hammersmith and Fulham, and through them, they will work with businesses to collect their recycling and bring it to us. So there should be good news next year. I think that more businesses will actively recycling.
Thanks for that. That's right.
I did have a question on building here for the councillor, David, which is so good. Thank you, Laura and Sarah, Casey, for excellent presentations. Laura, just a quick question on the repair voucher scheme. I suspect it's very much in its infancy. Is there a projected cost at all allocated funds at this stage?
There are allocated funds, there are project costs. So through our involvement with the One Living Programme, we've been working with North London Waste Alliance, and we just won a grant to deliver kind of borough. That will hopefully help some of the setup costs. We're finding now setup costs for admin and logistics can be quite high. But once that project is up and running, what we're hoping to do is be able to join that scheme and expand it into the borough. So yeah, I think what you need to bear in mind is you have to distribute redeem vouchers, and once that's in place, we'll just to identify funding for the vouchers themselves. So by joining that,
Brilliant, thank you. And Casey, read the Heston project. What's the most popular circular service in the end? You know.
Excellent question. I guess it depends on how you define popular. I would there was a real mix. I would say the challenge was, as I mentioned at the beginning, with the demographics of the area, it was high percentage who either didn't have English as their first language or kind of digitally excluded or disengaged. But then there was still a mix between the different delivery mechanisms that we have in place. So the in-person events and workshops and pop-ups were really popular. So the Repair Cafe have community growing sessions and various different kind of textile upcycling workshops. And then as a one-off, we actually also had a pop-up event with a partner called Circular Threads, and they offer a rental service and pre-loved service for Southeast Asian wear. So that was proved really popular as well, and I think quite an activity that resonated with the community and they felt listened to because of the type of activity it was. So the in-person sessions proved really successful. We have less anecdotal information around the digital services, but the numbers prove that those worked really well as well, which was a pleasant surprise to us considering the demographics. That being said, what was on paper I didn't necessarily experience when I went there myself, because I would be stood on the high street and everyone was walking down on a smartphone. But yeah, Too Good To Go also proved really successful, and that's potentially because of the level of brand awareness that they already have pre-project.
Just one more question. How much did the pilot investment cost?
Yes, I do. So the project was, part funded by ourselves at Re London and then also, match funded us. So the entire project was 200,000. But within that, there was, a kind of allocation of that was put towards a behaviour change specialist that helped us kind of design the initial project. A behaviour change communication agency that helped us develop the project branding, which will then be a resource for local authorities to use. So if it's replicated in the future, we could use that and then don't need to put as much budget toward that. And then we also commissioned the monitoring and evaluation consultancy who helped us evaluate the project. So a lot of the budget went to that as well as the actual activity delivery.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thanks for that, and that's actually, you know, in council terms, quite a small budget, I mean, 200,000, so well done on that. On the question of money, just one last question from me, and it's about the advertising and cleaning up advertising. Can we afford it? Do Hammersmith and Fulham as council earn quite a bit of money through selling advertising space, and are the big carbon users, car, travel, the big spenders?
Great question. It's unclear exactly how much money we get from advertising in specific areas, or specific sectors. And what we do know from having spoken to boroughs across the UK that have implemented similar policies is that they haven't seen any significant revenue loss from it, but in fact have seen revenue generation. Sheffield Council did a really in-depth webinar on the findings from having delivered theirs, and they found that by promoting advertising spaces for sustainable businesses and low carbon businesses, they actually found that they had generated revenue from advertising. So there are opportunities for us to use that, which is part of that, maybe the revenue generation side.
Fantastic, thank you for that. I'm actually going to open it up to our residents that come tonight to see if anyone wants to ask any questions before we. Would you like to come up and introduce yourself? There's a microphone. And if you push the right hand button with the cursor on it, and introduce yourself, that will make the button, the microphone work.
I've been a resident here for over 40 years. I might have missed something because I've been behind people's back when they're talking. Once again, it's happened again. And also I forgot my hearing aids tonight, so that doesn't happen either. So I might have missed something, but what I want to mention is that I'm very concerned about my local park is very difficult park. And a good many years ago, maybe 5 years ago, the park workers told me that we're not recycling rubbish here anymore because some people putting dog food into the recycling bags. And they were giving into that and giving up. And there's been some new bins being put right this last year. Those recycling bins are double bins, which one side is very clearly for recycling. But I noticed that on both sides of the bins they put black bags and they're not recycling still. And it's a kind of mark to the public really to have these bins that are not being actually used for what they say they're being used for.
Would anyone like to speak to that? Thank you.
Yeah.
Could you turn the microphone off while you're speaking? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. I'm really disappointed to hear that. I'll actually investigate that and find out exactly what's going on. If there's going to be recycling bins, we should be using them. That's recycling, yeah. And that's very important part of it.
Yes, thank you for that, and then we'll take that on board. Thank you.
Thanks for this opportunity. I haven't emailed I am a resident and I'm a member of the House, Sons and Thames Rowing Club and Linden House Sailing Club. So tonight I've been told the council don't do much catering. However, in the fridge I found 3 cow's udders and in the biscuits as skimmed milk. Happily I found plant-based milk. It would be very dynamic and exciting leadership if this climate emergency council could suggest to the rest of Hammersmith that we become a plant-based council. We would be following in the footsteps of Oxfordshire County Council, Nottingham City Council, the City of Lincoln Council, Porterdale Metropolitan Borough, Oxford City Council, Exeter City Council and Cambridge City Council. I believe Lewisham, London is already plant-based and Camden and Islington are making moves and becoming plant-based, and Hammersmith Council have it in their ecological policy for 2025. Bearing in mind that this is an easy win for this climate emergency committee, as Hammersmith and Fulham barely have indicated. Why have Hammersmith and Fulham not yet gone fully plant-based in their catering? It would set an example to the world that going plant-based can grow back 40% of our world's forests for wildlife, and that those forests will sequester carbon to reduce the Earth's temperature by 2 degrees centigrade. It is an easy win. Furthermore, animal products are polluting our Thames. Every 6 weeks, when the chickens get slaughtered, their excrement is scraped off the factory farm floor. It is spread on the farm fields, and when it rains, this runs into the Thames. And as a consequence, we are swimming, sailing and rowing in sewage. The Thames is currently unsafe due to dirty water. Battery animals, and sadly they are 95% battery animals in 2024. I think
It's tangible in the liquid.
is not only the cause of pandemics such as bird flu, and the cholesterol in animal products are the leading cause of heart disease and diabetes type 2, pandemics and ill health, not only causing a strain on the NHS, but also Hammersmith's economy. Going plant-based is the greatest action that Hammersmith Council and any individual can take in a response immediately to the climate emergency.
Thank you, Anna, thank you. Would any of the officers like to stick to any of those, it ended up being a bit diverse there and a bit off tangent, but or can we supply Anna with replies outside the meeting? We'll take details and we'll supply with replies.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. Yes, we'll take that away and give a response outside of the meeting. Yes, to add that we do have a low carbon food policy and that was presented as part of the presentation.
Thank you. Excellent. Oh, we have a Casey. Wants to ask a question?
Question for Western Riverside. A lot of people have things which they want to give away or throw away or cease to use, but we don't exactly have a sort of like an exchange of that is readily accessible. And one of the consequences of this is that people then tend to either put things out on the street in the hope that they will be used, or they simply bring them down to us and recycle where they usually get with for the most part they just go into the skip. It's possible to create an exchange hub which is not just restricted to the charity sector. It's something that would allow individuals to bring things and individuals to take from there.
Thank you. So at the House of Waste Recycling Centre, we do have a reuse section at the end of the site where residents can bring their items and put them for reuse. Now, unfortunately, the residents can't pick up those items once they've been on the site. It is something that we could potentially explore in the future. Obviously, we need to think about space considerations there as well. What I would recommend though is that actually there's a really growing number of digital platforms. Everything from sort of Facebook marketplaces, Olio, lots of local sites, WhatsApp groups, to really helping to facilitate community level exchanges of that. But yes, we'll definitely take your suggestion away because reuse would be a perfect solution, not taking it to the side and reuse and local reuse.
On the digital platforms, just to say that as useful as they are, awareness of them is still quite low. Whereas public awareness of like that's a side is in thank you.
Thank you. Could I add to that? Yes. Just to say that we ourselves and work with the London boroughs promote such platforms as Olio, Freegal, Freecycle, and those are great platforms to be able to share items for reuse. I'm having someone pick something up from me tomorrow evening off Olio. And we are definitely doing what we can to help promote those and encourage boroughs to promote those to prevent things from becoming waste in the first place. But obviously aware that digital isn't for everyone, and we do want to explore having physical hubs as well. And whether, and a lot of local authorities are looking into that, and having reuse hubs, but just looking at the angle of having them at the recycling centre isn't always best placed, from a kind of logistical point of view, because they're not always easily accessible or have high footfall. So looking at kind of high street vacant spaces, but also from a behaviour change point of view, people are going there with the mindset of throwing something away, rather than exchanging or picking up. So trying to kind of utilise vacant spaces on high streets as well, but as we know, those are limited, but work is going on in that space.
Thank you for that. Yes, would you like to ask a question?
Yeah, I'll speak now.
No, because it's on film, on YouTube. We need you to speak into the mic. Would you introduce yourself? The right hand button.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. This is my first time to attend such a meeting. It's very interesting and I found it amazing. And now, what I want to make a statement about WRWA. I had the opportunity to visit there. I was shocked about how much waste we have, how much we recycle. The facility is brilliant, and thank you for being part of it. They have everything. They are serving the community as well, the local people, because you can go in and recycle what you want. Everything is separated as well, so they take everything. So they are brilliant. And now, the first time I come in touch with circular ecology, what I was embraced with 3 elements. All the whole thinking, really, but 3 elements. It's reuse, repair, and education. And this is what we need. With that, we can reduce what we are wasting, and we save that environment. It's go down. So it needs the effort of everybody, manufacturers. Products stay used to last so long. Now they lifespan 3 to 5 years. So it's really the effort of everybody to save that the world. So That's what, and thank you very much for getting.
Thank you very much, thank you. Yes, we go to the wires. And please introduce yourself.
Hi, thank you. It's Natu and I live in, up in the north of the borough. It's really following on from what Casey said. I'm asking about bulky waste collections. On my estate, people are always collecting stuff. Lots of it is usable stuff. I, as a resident, often organise a collection to get all that stuff taken away by the council. And what I observe is that the bulky waste bag comes along and it all goes in and it all gets crushed. Now, that seems to me to be a bit daft because although some of it is clearly rubbish, a lot of it actually could be recycled. It's just that people don't have they haven't bothered to think about, doing it properly. But surely, given that you have you make an offer of collecting bulky waste, which we pay for, it's £5 for 10 items, includes electrical items, so these electrical items go in and get crushed as well. Couldn't there be a better way of the council's waste service dealing with bulky waste? Furniture, electricals, all kinds of things that could be refurbished and passed on. Just a question. Thank you.
Thank you. If you want to wait, I think you can listen to it. Anyway, you make an excellent point, and we're really keen that as much of this type of waste doesn't become waste and is reused and refurbished. The biggest problem we have is that once waste has been outside for any length of time, it's probably beyond its reusable points. So bulky waste collection service is typically picking up things that have been left outside. Sometimes we deal with fly tips as well, where again the material potentially may have been usable at one point, but by the time of collection it's not, although we do try to keep materials separate and recycled where possible. However, we promote, there are some charities that will come and do a collection in order to reuse items, but those items really need to have been kept inside and looked after and be in a reusable condition at that point. We're really keen that people do that, and we know that there are a whole range of platforms, sales platforms like eBay, but also people use Facebook or FreeCycle and other digital platforms to give things away, sell things, and it's much better for things to stay out of the waste stream. But typically when we're doing the collections on streets, items have become beyond their reusable life, and sometimes there are some complexities around some of the materials that have been used over time. So for example, some furniture has been treated with fire retardant materials that need to be treated quite carefully, and reusable items really need to be in really good condition in order to be reused, and somebody wants them and they're safe to use. So for that reason, there's a mix of recycling as well as reuse, but we would love it if more people would keep their items indoors and make arrangements for them to be reused where possible. But I think we do need a service that also collects the material that's beyond reuse.
Just really, well, I understand what you're saying, but it's not easy for people to make that. In our situation, for example, we're always having stuff dumped on the estate. We actually do store it in a dry place until we've got 10 or 20 items to be collected. But because we have to put it out to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the collection maybe at 6 o'clock the next morning, and then it doesn't come at 6 o'clock the next morning, often doesn't even come that day, and half the time I end up ringing them up and saying, what happened, it didn't come. Then obviously it gets left out in the rain and all those kind of things happen. But if it was made easier for those things to be collected from us in some more sensible way, more of this stuff could go into the recycle scheme.
I'm really sorry to say that there's service issues. We do monitor the quality of the service, and generally it's good, but I certainly feed that back. I wonder if we could maybe be in touch directly if you've got the space to store and you've got quite a few items. Maybe there is something we could look at to work with you to try and capture some of the reusable.
Sure, don't want to encourage people to plant it on our estate, but given that some of these things really are useful, it would be great to have a way of feeding it into a better
Yeah,
solution.
which might be possible, so.
I'll contact you. Thank you.
I'm just gonna take two more questions, just because I'm conscious of time, and councillor Reid and councillor Harper were doing them to speak. So the microphone's on the right hand side, and did you introduce yourself?
Yeah, great, thank you, Julie. My name is James Reid, I'm a resident and I'm also the director of Fulham Community Energy. And my question relates to energy, but first I wanted to thank you for your presentation, which were really interesting and it's great to hear about those projects. So obviously now that the UK has finally retired coal-fired power stations, burning waste for energy, waste to energy is actually the dirtiest form of energy in the UK today, unfortunately. One thing that we see our neighbours in the Borough, Kingston and Chelsea doing is implementing their first heat network to reduce gas boilers for a whole housing estate, improving the air quality and reducing the use of fossil fuels. So my question is, when will Hammersmith and Fulham have its first heat network installed here?
Would you like to speak?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. Well, the first thing, the next one will be a link to the city campus. The site is down the road from where we are at the present moment, and that's what's going to be there, but
Is that going to serve any residential property?
yes.
And when will the next one be?
We're working on heat networks across the whole borough, so I'm not sure if any of that will give more information in terms of which one will be the next one, but we are actually working on heat work networks to actually do heat zoning across the whole borough.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to say we have conducted a study across the borough to see where there is potential for development ducts. There is a lot of potential in a dense urban borough like Fulham. We've got two locations that have been funded for the next stage of the design process. And we're getting started with those two potential heat networks at the moment. Don't have time frame for delivery. Heat networks are big construction projects. They do take a long time to realise that they are being developed. Thanks, Nash.
Thank you. Yes, councillor Harper.
Not very green today. Just to add to that, I also sit on the OPDC, that's the Royal and Elder Local Development Corporation Committee, and there's a number of data centres being built, and those are making sure they're all things that can be linked into a future heat network. And given the size of that and the nature of that, well, it's also likely to extend to parts of the north of the borough. But again, there's no timescale for that, and as just been hearing anything like that, it does take some time to implement. And while I'm here, do go and visit Western Riverside Waste Authority. It is one of the best experiences you can have. I know it sounds awful, and I'm a bit geeky about it, but every resident I've ever spoken to who's been there has come back saying, I never believed that you recycle things like that. They couldn't believe how the different materials get sorted out. And it's not smelly either. So it's definitely worth looking. It's an eye-opener. It's one of the big things we get regularly is, oh, it all goes into the same place, doesn't get recycled. Once people have been there and seen what happens, it's brilliant. And on the board, because I sit on that board as well, one of the many things I do, is pushing the education side and pushing the side for visits and getting the school kids involved in this. It's absolutely essential that we do that. So the more people who can do and go along to them, and we will push for more adult visits.
Thank you for that, and it might be worth just saying something about the new division of waste and how that seeps in to what we are able to recycle and what's being burnt and what is now, what happens to the food?
Yes, so over the last year or so, we've been introducing food waste collections from our street-based properties and introducing wheel bins just for those homes where there is space, but the materials that we're collecting on the dry recycling remain the same and then go along to the materials recycling facility for that separation. The food waste we're collecting is picked up separately in a separate vehicle. It goes to a waste transfer station in West London, and then it goes to anaerobic digestion where it's turned into the material is recycled into product that can be used in agriculture, and energy is also generated through the process as well because of the heat of that process. Yeah, so that's been a step change really what we're able to offer. We would always say that recycling is definitely a really positive thing to do compared to throwing stuff away, but the better things are reusing and avoiding food waste, for instance, where possible. Obviously, it's not possible in all cases, but things like composting in the garden with vegetable peelings and that sort of thing, definitely the best thing to do, but it's great that we're able to do something better than dispose of waste now from those folks.
Thank you for that, definitely. One last question.
Richard King, the North End Board. My question is about materials recycling, having watched Ada Lewis House demolished recently from my flat window. There were a lot of bricks there, and they're very good quality bricks. And what I'm interested in is watch the spaces disappear in Hammersmith and Fulham over the years. There was a car park up by White City that's now built on. There was Smuggler and Gateway itself was quite a lot of space and now is very packed. How do you propose to keep, if you're going to be using a recycling project, either people doing it individually or having a sort of logistics system working it, how are you going to make sure there is ongoing space for storage of stuff?
Yeah, I think that one. So we were working with different stakeholders in the borough to identify space. Of course, waste sites are an obvious one. And what we're hoping to do is as our recycling reuse increases, hopefully there'll be less waste. And so some of the space at some of our transfer stations we can set aside for storage. These are great opportunities because they're sheltered and they obviously they fit the purpose for large vehicles. Of course, we need to identify other storage spaces as well, and I think particularly reuse, as some of the guests mentioned, it needs to be on high streets fronts where people can see what's going on as well. So space is a huge challenge for us, but we're hoping to use the space that we already have and divert away from waste and towards reuse opportunities. So yeah, we're engaging with stakeholders around to identify those spaces.
So repurposing what you already have. My other question is very quick, is what is the alternative to concrete that's greener?
So there are low carbon green alternatives that are being tested. But for structure, we can use timbers, so CLT and other mass timber options instead of concrete and steel. Of course, these again are very pilot small project stage, but we are starting to explore the use of these so that we can reduce materials like concrete and steel for some of our developments.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that. Well, I think we quite happy to accept the presentation. Thank you very much for that. Graham, you've got one reply response that we're going to get back. And Councillor Alfonso, you're happy to accept the presentation. Thank you. And we'll move on. We've got an update now from Councillor Reid, the Cabinet Member for Finance and Reform. And before anyone runs off, I'm also going to add a bit of business onto the end where Councillor Harcourt is going to talk to us about a new climate ambassador scheme. Introduce that, but to Councillor Reid first.
Thank you very much. My name is Councillor Rowan Reid. I'm the Cabinet Member for Finance and Reform here in Hammersmith and Fulham. So I think here in the borough we're pretty good at investing in a greener future, but we can always be better, and one of the ways that we're hoping to do that is through the Hammersmith and Fulham green investments. Now, this week, a year ago, we launched the first tranche of the green investments here in Hammersmith and Fulham. We're looking to raise up to £5 million in order to invest in climate projects right here in the borough. So, what is the scheme? It's an innovative community investment scheme. That means that residents are able to invest money into local projects. They'll gain a return from that, but also they'll get to see the benefits of those projects on their doorstep. So the scheme's a rare win-win-win. It's a win for residents who choose to invest because they get a low risk fixed rate return on their investment and can put in for as little as £5. It's a win for the council because it allows us to borrow for these important projects at a more competitive rate than we currently can through the means the council borrows money. And it's a win, most importantly, for the local environment because it allows us to go ahead and build things like retrofitting projects on buildings, active transport measures to promote cycling and other ways of getting around the borough, and climate risk mitigation efforts here in Hammersmith and Fulham, things like preventing flooding, something that is also important as the weather turns. Now, as I said, we launched the first tranche of the scheme a year ago this week. That was at a rate of 4.85%, something I think we probably struggle to find on the high street at the moment. And that was very successful. So it was scheduled to run for 3 months, but we actually ended up having to close it early because we raised our ceiling amount of 1 million before the end. We also had 864 individual investors who decided to take part in that and are already now getting a return on the money that they put in. A couple of months later, so in February of this year, we launched the second tranche of the scheme. That was at 4.6%, again, another pretty competitive rate. And we raised over £750,000 from that as well. So we are, as I mentioned, we're using the money that we've raised from this already to fund projects across the borough. So from the top of Old Oak down to the bottom of Fulham, you'll see some of these new projects that are happening because of the investment that members of the community have put in. Things like greening projects, sustainable drainage, and new cycle hangers, which I know from my councillor's inbox are very popular. And because of the success of the scheme so far, we're looking to go ahead and do even more of it. We're looking to raise, as I say, £5 million. That's the most that any local authority has sought to raise from a scheme like this. And we're looking to launch a new tranche of the scheme early in the new year. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that. Right, I'm going to ask a very sort of lay person's question. Do you have to pay the money back in the end if we're borrowing?
Yeah, absolutely. So the council borrows money to pay for capital projects at the moment. At the moment, we borrow from something called the Public Works Loans Board. But they charge obviously a high interest rate in order for us to be able to borrow. Being able to do it this way means that we can borrow at a slightly more competitive rate than we would if we were borrowing from them. But it also means that rather than giving the money to the Public Works Loans Board, we can give it to residents who decide to invest in these projects.
Thank you, thank you. Councillors? No questions? No questions? Well, fantastic, thank you very much. But we'll take that report, but do we have any questions about the green report? Again, sorry, but I have to ask you to come up to the mic because it's being broadcast.
And just I would like to ask, do you need to be a resident in the borough to be able to fulfill?
That's a good question, Benito. No, you don't necessarily have to be a local resident here in Hammersmith and Fulham. It's open to people outside the borough as well. In fact, we raised quite a lot of money from people who perhaps have never even set foot in Hammersmith and Fulham in the first tranches, but luckily because of their investments, we're able to progress with some of these projects. It's also, I should have said, open not just to individuals, but to businesses and community groups as well. So I think as part of the future tranches we're going to be looking to try and raise a bit more money from some local businesses who will benefit from the scheme as well.
And the last question to you, and if you need the money for 1 year, can you withdraw?
Yes, you can. I'm not sure you get back the same amount as you would if you just keep it in for the full 5-year term. So the way that it works is that you put the money in at the start, and then every 6 months you then get a slice of your capital back, but also interest on top of that. So that's you get that as a fixed rate for the full 5 years. So if interest rates go down, you still get to keep the rate that they were locked in.
Thank you very much, and it's brilliant idea because for benefit for the council and at the same time for residents as well to be part. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions?
In terms of drawing on the funds for local projects, how is that done? And who can let the local business or local thing co-produce with? Example, is the council itself a possible partner for co-productions?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think for the next round, we're looking to decide the projects that we're going to invest in before we open the next tranche. So whenever you see an opportunity, or have you got an idea of something we should be putting money into, then if you get in touch, we can make sure that that's considered.
Fantastic question, thank you. Thanks for that. Any other questions? Well, I think we can commend the report and accept. Thank you very much. So we can't do any other business, but what we can do is talk about what we might cover next time. So one thing that I'm going to suggest is to everybody is to mention the H&S Climate Newsletter. Maybe Councillor Harcourt could say how you sign up for the letter.
Climate Connects. Sorry. It's the Climate Connects newsletter. It goes out once a month. The third way. How's that? Yeah. It's the Climate Connects newsletter. It goes out every month with a whole series of articles about it. And as you mentioned earlier, Chair, that one of the main articles this time was about climate ambassadors, which is a new initiative trying to get people interested in promoting climate change within their own communities. And it's in conjunction with Greenpeace as well. So anybody who's interested in that and setting up their own projects locally, there's going to be a series of webinars that will help them develop those skills and knowledge about that. You can sign up for it. Oh goodness, I haven't got that in front of me. But certainly, if you look up on the web, Climate Connects, they'll tell you exactly how to get onto the mailing list for that.
Thank you very much, Councillor Harcourt. Very good. And we have a selection of things on the as offerings for possibilities of the next agenda. So please come along to the next meeting. We may have Ghent City cycling coming to speak to us, probably online, which would be great. We might have the Ocean Conservation Trust, who are asking inner London councils to pass motions on being ocean aware and how our water quality is so important from the sea to the rivers. We possibly will cover building, but if anyone has anything of particular interest and they'd like the climate change committee to focus on, you can always email us at any of the councillors on the budget is the focus in the next meeting. Sorry about that. We will be focusing on the budget at the next meeting, but I'm sure we can cover other things too. My last thing is to thank all the councillors and officers and everybody for coming this evening. And we will see you at the next meeting on, was it May the 7th? February the 7th. Thank you. Oh, we've got one more question, sorry.
It's not really your microphone, it's just who can we contact and who's good people here if we've got further things to add or something? Can we email these companies and?
The organiser of the committee is Amrita White, so it's amrita.white@lbhs.gov.uk, but you can also go through your local councillor if you look up on the LBHS website, you look for your postcode, you can identify who your local 2 or 3 councillors are, and any emails to your local councillor should be put through to the appropriate officer to get a response.
But specifically the presenters of their issues tonight.
These organisations, I'm sure we can make these available. Are they on the agenda? Contact details? Yeah. Everybody doesn't mind, that's good. We'll make them all available. Thank you.